Leaders of the fitness and leisure industries have criticised the government's decision that because they are classed as close proximity businesses, they should not be allowed to reopen on July the 4th, unlike pubs, hairdressers, cinemas and other venues in England. Swim England has also called on ministers to reconsider the decision. The government says that gyms and pools should be able to open their doors in mid-July. Our sports correspondent Natalie Pirks has more details.
It seems a bit of a kick in the teeth.
All the way along, we've been told they're following the science. Now they're following the economists.
I'd love to know the science behind how you can open a pub and not open a swimming pool.
A flavour of the dismay and disappointment from some in sport today, as gyms remain silent and pools lie still.
It is Adam Peaty's world record. Come on, Adam Peaty.
Olympic champion Adam Peaty tweeted his anger at pubs being opened before pools, and tonight he told the BBC there's been a lack of clarity from the government.
I was very disappointed with the decision because I don't feel like it's been appreciated, and I don't feel like it's been almost kind of explained in a sense to any athlete or the governing bodies. We've just been told it's shut and we've been told no reason why.
Of course, it's not just swimming that's been affected by these delays. There are around 7,000 leisure facilities across the whole of the UK, and it's estimated it's worth around £7.7 billion every year to the economy. Now, in addition, the wider physical activity sector employs around 400,000 people, and it's estimated up to 100,000 of them could lose their jobs, with 2,800 leisure facilities closing down, all because of this crisis.
The government received detailed guides weeks ago showing just how facilities could reopen safely, with things like screens around cardio equipment, reduced numbers in gyms and ramped up cleaning procedures. But scientists say currently they still pose too high a risk.
Perspex screens may well help, but then you would imagine that the screens will end up covered in respiratory droplets and could end up being a real potential site for contamination.
There are those who rely on indoor facilities like wheelchair rugby players. Children are missing out on sports clubs, particularly with school PE off the cards for most. And with obesity one of the major causes of deaths from COVID-19, some feel the government's priorities are all wrong.
Everybody's desperate for a pint, right? But the reality is that this is a health crisis. And the best way to address a health crisis is by getting one of the key sectors who can combat COVID-19 and support the rehabilitation from COVID-19 up and running.
The government says the aim is to start reopening indoor leisure facilities from mid-July, but one thing is certain, the long-term future of public leisure will need help way beyond that. Natalie Pirks, BBC News.
In Scotland, the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has been giving details of the way that the lockdown rules will be eased. Our Scotland correspondent, Lorna is in Glasgow with the latest.
Yes, Hugh, the First Minister has followed a careful, cautious strategy in the speed of easing lockdown measures here. Measures, she said, which were helping to drive the rate of the virus down towards the point of elimination, and which she said gave her the confidence now to set out dates for the easing of more restrictions. So next Friday, the 3rd of July, we will see the 5-mile travel restriction here in Scotland East and self-catering holiday accommodation reopening for business. On the 6th, pubs, cafes and restaurants can open their outdoor areas back up to customers. Then on the 10th, up to 3 households will be able to meet indoors. The big one, though, is the 15th. That's when the tourism sector will be able to reopen fully, when museums, libraries and art galleries can open their doors back up, and when the indoor areas of bars, cafes, restaurants and hairdressers can open to customers once again. The 2-metre rule, though, for now stays in place in Scotland. The First Minister is seeking more scientific advice on that, and we expect more news on that towards the end of next week.
Lorna, many thanks again. Lorna Gordon with the latest on the measures there in Scotland.